Super excited to be here, man. Can't believe
Yeah.
it. It's awesome. Uh, Quick questions. The very first one has to do with positioning. What are the top pain points that a chief marketing officer or the people, the hires up at a company that can make the decision of hiring an SEO company? That's the one thing I'm struggling with at the time. I don't know if you have.
Okay, so I love this. Two things. Number one, I would look at the people who already have that audience, and I would look at what people are asking about in like the comments of their posts. If you're like, I don't know who they follow, use a tool like SparkToro. It'll pull out like all the people that are commonly followed. If you're like, hey, they say in their profile that they do B2B marketing, or they say they're a marketing director or a CMO, you can go in SparkToro and be like, everybody who says CMO in their profile, who do they follow most? And then let's look at the people that are making content and see like what the replies are. What are the questions they're asking? That starts to give you some sort of idea. The other thing is just figuring out like what the real pain points are. Because a lot of times I'm really big on this when I do customer interviews. They have what are called like phantom pains, where they'll say it's like, what's an example I heard recently? Oh, somebody was like, they said they were talking to a CEO of a company, fully like head of everything, huge company. And they were like, okay, cool. Like, what's like the biggest problem you're having? And he was like, well, we're having like really hard time with like visibility into our like dashboards. And a normal salesperson would be like, okay, cool. Like, here's our dashboards and here's why they're better and all that shit. And the salesperson was like, I pushed back and I was just like, there's no way as a CEO, the biggest problem you're having in your whole company right now is visibility into dashboards. Like, what's really going on? Why is that a problem? And it was like, well, this team is getting into it with this. Like, all of a sudden you start uncovering things. I use, there's some good strategies in the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a book about negotiation. But like the best one, I started to notice that I have friends that do it to me. Like there's a thing called mirroring, where you just repeat the words back as a question. So when that CEO was like, our biggest problem right now is visibility into our dashboards, you would just go, visibility into your dashboards? And then they go more. It's easier than just going, why, how, why? Like that starts to feel a little interrogative, and it moves from like negotiation to interrogation, which you don't want. But like, there's a couple strategies of like, get deeper, because those phantom pains, those like presenting problems, just similar, also true in like the medical practice, are almost never the actual thing. So yeah, I think it's a question of like finding out where they hang out, seeing what they're asking about, and also just like trying to figure out how to get them on calls. Something that I would use if I was like really trying to break in and I didn't have like a network and everything. I also try to like remain, like I like to live in the real world, right? There's some shit that is easier for me that is hard for other people. There's stuff that's easy for Ryan that is hard for me, things like that. So like if I was just starting that right now, I would, one creative tactic you could try is to leverage the traffic projection tool and say like, hey, look, I don't want to do a sales call, but I also don't want to just waste your time. I know your time's valuable. I can put together an idea of how much traffic you could get in 2023 by month, every single month. And all I want is 10 minutes to share it with you and just to ask you a couple questions of like what you're dealing with right now. I'm just trying to like be more helpful to people. And they might be like, dude, I would love that. I would love to get that traffic projection. Or like just go in communities where they hang out. There's tons, especially for B2B, there's tons of like Slack groups. And I wouldn't like hop in and be that person that's like, hello, what are your biggest pain points? Like nobody's going to reply, but just start like digging in, seeing like what they care about, what they're struggling with. Yeah, I think that might be like a good starting point. Is that helpful?
It's very, very helpful. Two more questions. The quick one. You recommended a backlink service. One was No BS. And what was the other?
Loganics.com.
Loganics?
Yep, pretty all right. And then OBS Marketplace now there.com. I just dropped them into the chat. Those are usually pretty okay. From there, like you can find some other ones, but I've just found that as many of the ones that say they're doing outreach are just buying them. They're saying they're doing outreach and they're charging $400 a link, but they're really just buying them from No BS at $200 a link, and it's just an arbitrage. It's like, you got me 20 links. That's cool. I could have bought all these cheaper. I'm wary about a lot of that stuff. I also think like that's in your messaging to clients around link building of like, yeah, like we'll build some links for you, but we're also going to build content that builds links for you. And here's some examples of that, And
the very last question I have is around operations. Been doing SEO for like 12, 13 years. I'm really good at it. I love it. I'm a web designer. I do the whole enchilada, the whole thing. And I'm struggling with not putting myself apart. So I have a team of people that are good at doing like small tasks. I use, of course, your program. But what I'm struggling with is the very first thing is like, how am I going to get someone to talk to the clients so that they can take care of their accounts? in-house, so that someone that's good, that understands SEO, and that is portable, because also like most of the people I use are overseas. They're good at what they do. But so I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for that specifically, like where to get like good SEO strategists to help with the new clients and stuff.
I just cheat. The same way I was taken from an agency to another agency was through one simple DM. Hey, we're looking to bring in great people. Would you be open to having a conversation? Find people that work at an agency that if you're looking to bring on somebody full time, like just hit up other B2B SEO agencies and find people there that are and just send them a DM of like, hey, look, I'm hiring. Might not be a fit right now, but would you be open to having a conversation? Some people will say like, yeah, sure. I mean, personally, like when I was full-time in-house or even at agencies, I would always have those. Like if you said I'm looking to hire and I like looked you up and I'm like, okay, cool. They're cool. I'll have those conversations. Worst case scenario, you come out with a friend in a relationship and you grow your network. Best case, like you maybe make an offer to somebody.
All right. That's also good. Really good. Thank you.